That's fine. Right, let there be light. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 11, entitled The Childhood Pastimes of Krishna. So this is Prabhupada's summary of the chapter. This chapter describes how the inhabitants of Gokula left Gokula and went to Vrindavan, and how Krishna killed Vatsasura and Bakasura. When the Yamala Arjuna trees fell, they made a tremendous sound like that of falling thunderbolts. Being surprised, Krishna's father, Nanda, and the other elderly inhabitants of Gokula went to the spot where they saw the fallen trees and Krishna standing between them, bound to the ulukala, the wooden mortar. They could find no cause for the trees having fallen and Krishna being there. They thought this might be the work of some other asura who had met Krishna on this spot, and they inquired from the playmates of Krishna about how the whole incident had taken place. The children properly described how everything had happened, but the elderly persons could not believe the story. Some of them, however, thought that it might be true, since they had already seen many wonderful incidents in connection with Krishna. Anyway, Nanda Maharaj immediately released Krishna from the ropes. In this way, Krishna at every day and every moment displayed wonderful incidents to increase the parental affection of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, who thus felt both surprise and joy. The breaking of the Yamala Arjunas was one of these wonderful pastimes. One day, a fruit vendor approached Nanda Maharaj's house, and Krishna gathered some fruit grains with his little palms and went to the vendor to exchange the grains for fruit. On the way, almost all the grains fell from his palms, only one or two grains remaining, but the fruit vendor, out of full affection, accepted these grains in exchange for as much fruit as Krishna could take. As soon as she did this, her basket became filled with gold and jewels. Thereafter, all the elderly Gopas decided to leave Gokula because they saw that in Gokula there was always some disturbance. They decided to go to Vrindavan, Vrajadam, and the next day they all departed. In Vrindavan, both Krishna and Balaram, after finishing their childhood pastimes, began to take charge of the calves and send them to the pasturing grounds, Gocharana. During this time, a demon named Vatsasura entered among the calves and was killed, and another asura in the shape of a big duck was also killed. The playmates of Krishna narrated all these stories to their mothers. The mothers could not believe their children, Krishna's playmates, but because of full affection, they enjoyed these narrations of Krishna's activities. So yes, that's the mood in Vrindavan.
Where did you read all that?
Where did I read all of that?
Yeah, because I was looking online and it's completely different summaries that I have.
Well, this is the summary of chapter 11 of 10th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam. So you have, like, your version was quite different. Interesting.
Oh, I see. I was looking at chapter 10. Okay, I see what's the problem.
We're on chapter 11 here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So the so the resident Vrindavan, the adult residents, they hear about all these things and they go, oh, well, Krishna, he's just a boy. He couldn't do that. But then someone think, well, maybe he's like a powerful demigod or something. But they don't come to that he's the supreme personality of Godhead. We heard that in Saturday's class from Ganesh Yam Prabhu and Govardhan Hill Pastime. Ultimately, Mother Yashoda and the elderly gopis decided that Krishna was really struggling to pull up the hill, but because of Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men, they had their sticks. And that must be why the hill stayed up. So even though they're witnessing, but they're consistently in yoga maya to prevent themselves from.
I never heard that before.
Never heard that one? Yeah.
It explains why there are sticks in some of the Vrajavasi places.
That's what I've heard. Right. And then sometimes, like when Mother Yashoda sees the universal form in the mouth of Krishna, she does come out of yoga maya, but then quickly Krishna and yoga maya put her back in, and then she's just worried about protecting her son from eating dirt, which can make him sick. So text 1 of chapter 11 reads, Shri Shuka Uvacha Upananda Daya Shrutva Omayo Bhagavato Ravam Tachachamu Pushpita Nirgata Vayasvantika. Shukadev Goswami continued, O Maharaj Parikshit, when the Yamla Arjuna trees fell, all the cowherd men in the neighborhood, hearing the fierce sound and fearing thunderbolts, went to the spot. Om Yam Nipatika Tatra Dadri Surya Malarjuno Vavramutta Davikaya Lakshmana Karanam. There they saw the fallen Yamla Arjuna trees on the ground, but they were bewildered because even though they could directly perceive that the trees had fallen, they could not trace out the cause for their having done so. Srila Prabhupada's purport, considering all the circumstances, had this been done by Krishna? He was standing on the spot, and his playmates described that this had been done by him. Had Krishna actually done this, or were these merely stories? This was a cause of bewilderment. Ulukalam vikarshantam
Damnabadam Shabalakam
Asidam kuta ashtrayam utpata iti kataram. Ramachandra, would you like to read?
Krishna was bound by the rope to the Ulukala, the mortar which he was dragging. But how could he have pulled down the trees? Who had actually done it? Where was the source for this incident? Considering all these astounding things, the coward men were doubtful and bewildered, purported by his divine grace. The coward men were very much agitated because the child Krishna, after all, had been standing between the two trees, and if by chance the trees had fallen upon him, he would have been smashed. But he was standing as he was, and still the things had happened. So who had done this? Who had done all this? How could these events have happened in such a wonderful way? These considerations were some of the reasons they were agitated and bewildered. They thought, however, that by chance Krishna had been saved by God so that nothing had happened to him.
They were grateful that Krishna was saved by God. Text 4. Bala uchur aneneti tiyagata mulukalam vikarshata majagena pushava pyachakshmahi. Malini, would you like to read?
Yes. Then all the cowherd boys said, "It is Krishna who has done this." But he was in between the two trees. The mortar fell crosswise. When he was when he was in between the two trees, the mortar fell crosswise. Krishna dragged the mortar, and the two trees fell down. After that, two beautiful men came out of the trees. We have seen this with our own eyes. I will read again. Then all the cowherd boys said, "It is Krishna who have done this." When he was in between the two trees, the mortar fell crosswise. Krishna dragged the mortar, and the two trees fell down. After that, two beautiful men came out of the trees. We have seen this with our own eyes. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Krishna playmates wanted to afford Krishna's father of the exact situation by explaining that not only did the trees break, but out of the broken trees came two beautiful men. All these things happened, they said. We have seen them with our own eyes.
Text 5. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 11, Text 5. Nate tad uktam chagrihur nagate te dasyatat balasyotpatanam tarvo kechit sandi. Would someone at Prabhupada House like to read the translation and purport?
I'm here.
Thank you.
Translation: because of intense paternal affection, the cowherd men headed by Nanda could not believe that Krishna could have uprooted the trees in such a wonderful way. Therefore, they could not put their faith in the words of the boys. Some of the men, however, were in doubt. Since Krishna was predicted to eat, they thought it might be that he could have done it. Purport: one view was that it was impossible for a small boy like this to have done such a thing as pulling down the trees, but there were doubts because Krishna had been predicted to equal Narayan. Therefore, the cowherd men were in a dilemma.
Hare Krishna. All right, text 6. Ulukalam vikarshantam damna badham svam atmajam dilokyananda prahasad padano vimumochaha. Dr. George, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna, David. I'm Kent at this moment. Thank you.
That's it. Damayanti, are you? Welcome, Damayanti. Would you like to read? Maybe. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'll read. So this is text 6 translation. When Nanda Maharaj saw his own son bound with ropes to the wooden mortar and Andrakini, he smiled and released Krishna from his bonds. Purport: Nanda Maharaj was surprised that Yashoda, Krishna's mother, could have bound her beloved child in such a way. Krishna was exchanging love with her. How then could she have been so cruel as to bind him to the wooden mortar? Some family tensions, it seems. Nanda Maharaj understood this exchange of love, and therefore he smiled and released Krishna. In other words, as Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, binds a living entity in fruitive activities, he binds Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj in parental affection. This is his pastime.
So poetic.
So poetic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a special flavor to these 10th canto purports.
So much.
Gopi bisto bito nrityan Bhagavan balavat kvachit Udgayati kvachin mugdas Tadvashodaruyantravat.
The gopis would say, if you dance, my dear Krishna, then I shall give you half a sweetmeat. By saying these words or by clapping their hands, all the gopis encouraged Krishna in different ways. At such times, although he was the supremely powerful personality of Godhead, he would smile and dance according to their desire, as if he were a wooden doll in their hands. Sometimes he would sing very loudly at their bidding. What is bidding?
Hitting their request.
Bidding. In this way, Krishna came completely under the control of the gopis.
Ivarti kvachit agyapta Hita kunman parukam Bhavukshepam chakute Svanam cha pritim avahan. Malani, would you like to read?
Yeah. Sometimes Mother Yashoda and her gopi friends would tell Krishna, bring this article or bring that article. Sometimes they would order him to bring a wooden plank, wooden shoes, or a wooden measuring pot. And Krishna, when thus ordered by the mothers, would try to bring them. Sometimes, however, as if unable to raise these things, he will touch them and stand there. Just to invite the pleasure of his relatives, he will strike his body with his arm to show that he had insufficient strength.
He had sufficient strength.
He had sufficient strength, yeah, sorry. That's
Okay.
sweet.
Very sweet, yes.
I think there is a painting like that, right?
Yes.
Holding
Yes. There's
the sandal.
that's it. Just absorbing in Krishna's pastimes here and related to the Vatsalya Ras and fully purifying for the heart. Text 9.
I had a question around, like, the prophet says, like, make Krishna your friend and he will never betray you, make Krishna your lover and he will, like, never leave you or something like that. How does it go with, like make Krishna, can someone make Krishna like his son or something like that? Does it work? Because I remember I've seen these mataji's in Vrindavan that would have like a Krishna doll on a stroller that would like walk with them. And can it really replace that like maternal? Because I guess every woman she desires like a child. Can someone like can someone have like Krishna as their son like that?
Yeah, I mean, of course.
I don't understand the question. Can we repeat the question?
Well, what I understood is the idea of Ramachandra's asking, kind of like in this world, is it bona fide to meditate on Krishna as one's child, and can that fulfill and transcend the desire for children? So
not to transcend, but like if someone just because there are so many devotee couples even if they don't have children, and like if by meditating on Krishna, can they meditate on Krishna as like a son and it will help them, or?
Well, the basic answer is yes. And of course, in all these things, the aspiring devotee needs to be careful that it doesn't become artificial. It doesn't become a sahajya thing, like pretending Maharaj Nanda or something like that. It doesn't become but the principle is definitely yes. That if one has lusty romantic desires, if one properly, under proper guidance, focuses on Krishna and the gopis on the basis of Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, then those desires become purified. If now Prabhupada says that in this world, the affection that most resembles the pure love in the spiritual world is mother-child. So that's like, generally speaking, the purest love in this world, mother-child. But even that in this world, it's often contaminated. But that's the principle. So if we meditate on Krishna's childhood pastimes, then the material desires for I'll be the parent, like that, they get purified. So the answer is yes. And then how to do it, we need to do it under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master. So, but the principle is yes. Yeah.
They get purified, but it doesn't indicate anything about the eternal association or relationship of that specific soul with Krishna. It's just a way to devote something. It's like, also, like Prabhupada will say to women who didn't have a husband, accept Krishna as your husband.
Yes.
And that will help the person in their conditioned state. But accepting Krishna as a husband doesn't necessarily mean anything about their eternal relationship with Krishna, isn't it? And similarly with children, because I remember Mother Jadurani, and she was worshipping a little Gopal deity at one point when I was in association with her. Because of that, she never had children, and she wanted to purify that desire for children, and accepted baby Gopal as her child, and she was serving him and he was helping her. But that didn't necessarily mean that her eternal relationship with Krishna is an Vacharya ras.
Yeah, what you say is completely consistent with my understanding. Yes, yeah, for sure. True. Thanks for the question, Ramachandra, and the comment, Malini. Now we can continue a bit. So where are we? Text 9? Darshayam stad vidam loka atmano vicham vashyatam rajasyo vyam varsham bhagavan bhavachishtitam. Lakshmi Priya, you would like to lead? Could you read?
Yes.
Okay.
Translation, to pure devotees throughout the world who could understand his activities, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, exhibited how much he can be subdued by his devotees, his servants. In this way, he increased the pleasure of the Vrajavashis by his childhood activities. Purport: that Krishna performed childhood activities to increase the pleasure of his devotees was another transcendental humor. He exhibited these activities not only to the inhabitants of Rajabhumi, but also to others who were captivated by his external potency and opulence. Both the internal devotees, who were simply absorbed in love of Krishna, and the external devotees, who were captivated by his unlimited potency, were informed of Krishna's desire to be submissive to his servants.
Thank you. There's a lot there in that purport we could try to unpack, but in one sense it's straightforward. In another sense it's pretty esoteric philosophy.
Yeah, I was thinking so.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So the internal devotees, that's like what we're reading about here. The Nanda Maharaj, Mother Yashoda, the gopis who are find Krishna so adorable. And then the external devotees, my sense is that seems to be referring to those who are relating to Krishna as God, as the supremely powerful controller of the universe. That's kind of our training to relate to him that way. And then when one kind of passes the anartha-nivritti stage, when we're free from the modes of nature, then perhaps a more internal, intimate relationship with Krishna is revealed in the heart. And the idea is Krishna is also communicating to the external devotees, those who, just like we just sung Sri Damodar Ashtakam, and in that song, that it's Satyavrata Muni, I think, is the author, but he says, like, yes, those who worship you in Vaikuntha, I have no interest. Those who are connected with Super Soul, no interest. Impersonal liberation, no interest. Material desires, heavenly pleasures, no. I only want to see. I only want to see your babyhood pastimes with Mother Yashoda and curly hair and things like that. So, so Krishna's communicating to those who sort of relate to him in awe and reverence. He's kind of giving them a taste, of these very internal pastimes. Yeah, that's my understanding.
It's so connected to that song.
So connected to that.
Because he said, but also to others who are captivated by his external potency and opulence. Yes, the majestic aspect of opulence, like the song says. Wow, it's nice. Never.
Yeah, that song, it deals with several other aspects of God through material nature, materialism, Vaikuntha, super soul, and then impersonal liberation. And the author Satyavrata Muni, I have no interest in any of them. I'm not interested in your childhood pastime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can see really the God of the Christian
Yeah.
in that external, because it's like God is all powerful and almighty and scary and like everything, and that's the external really. According to this purport, it's captivated by his external potency and opulence. So even when it sounds like personal,
Yeah.
like Shantaras, it's a personal relationship, but it's really fascinated by the opulence and all the external energy of the Lord, like the creation of the moon, and the creator of the sky and the sun, and the creator of so many things. And that's really how, like, most of the world approach God.
Yeah, it's the beginning of a personal relationship. It's a form of Shantaras. Then there's also Shantaras in the Vrindavan pastimes. And that's the thing. These like Shantaras has a big continuum. Prabhupada makes it clear. Even someone who's impersonally liberated, the rays of the Brahmagyuti, that's Shantaras. It's like the lower level of Shantaras. And then as far as, like God in heaven, all powerful, just like, okay, let's say if someone is the CEO, if someone is the CEO of a big international multi-billion-dollar company, so there could be some people who just really honor him because he's so powerful and so much money. There's a personal relationship, right? But then maybe his personal secretary knows him more intimately, and his wife and his 10-year-old child plays horsey on his back. They know him more intimately, but even one who just sees him on TV giving a speech, there's some personal relationship there based on power, awe, and reverence. So here, they're seeing Krishna as quite powerless. He can't even pick up Nanda Maharaj's shoes. And so they need to help. And Prabhupada makes that point that, like, God as father, the general relationship is with a father or mother. The child is, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. So that's the relationship. Give me my daily bread, like that. So that's nice. We're acknowledging God. But then in the parental position, then it's like, in a sense, you're not receiving much except the opportunity to serve. And then we're giving. Oh yeah, here's some money for this. Here's food. Here's a house. So these are very intimate devotees, that they're in a position where they're caring for Krishna, and they're not asking from him anything. Hare Krishna.
I have
Yes.
Um, is it true? I heard something that I wanted to see if anyone can confirm if it's true or not. That like everyone who is worshiping Lord Chaitanya or like in the line of Prabhupada, their ultimate destination is Goloka or Vrindavan. Is it correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard things like that, it's not for me to say about everyone and, like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, basically, we got connected with the spirit of Lord Chaitanya. And so that's completely the Goloka Vrindavan spirit.
Mm.
So I'm going to say that's essentially true.
Mm.
Yeah, as far as does it mean that everyone with any connection with Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement, their ultimate original rasa destination is Gokula. It's not for me to say, but yeah, but basically that is my understanding.
Isn't it a potential? The potential to go there is there. And that's what's amazing about Lord Chaitanya's movement.
Yeah.
But even during Lord Chaitanya's, in a Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is, like Morai Gupta and others who are in contact with Lord Chaitanya, within Lord Chaitanya's movement, and their destination is not Goloka, it's Ayodhya.
Yeah, there's in South India, there's the Brahmin who was a devotee of Lord Ram, and also a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So these things are inconceivable to mundane mind and senses. That it doesn't. My understanding, it doesn't need to be this or that. Right.
Yeah, because in a sense they are fully in a relationship with Radha and Krishna through being in a relationship with Lord Chaitanya. So, and there is Ram, so it's not this or that, and you see like it's not this or that, or it's not only one destination necessarily or one form.
And Ayodhya is not in Goloka.
Ayodhya is not in Goloka, although there is an Ayodhya planet in Vaikuntha. That's my understanding. Now,
Separate planet.
Yeah. Now, my understanding from Brahma Samhita, there is a Navadvip in Goloka. Yeah, there is a Navadvip in Goloka. That's Brahma Samhita. Text 10. Krini bo palaniti shrutva satvaram achyuta palarti danyam adaya yayam sarva pala. Once a woman selling fruit was calling, "Oh, inhabitants of Rajabhumi, if you want to purchase some fruits, come here." Upon hearing this, Krishna immediately took some grains and went to barter as if he needed some fruits. Purport. Aborigines generally go to the villagers to sell fruits. How much the Aborigines were attached to Krishna is here described. Krishna, to show his favor to the Aborigines, would immediately go purchase fruits, bartering with paddy in his hand, as he had seen others do. So now here's this woman, and she's from a less sophisticated sector of people than the Vaishyas of Gokula. Prabhupada using the term Aborigines. And now we're seeing Krishna has a special relationship there, special rasa there. Palavikrayini tasya chutadanya karadvayam paler apurayadratnai palabandamapuricha.
While Krishna was going to the fruit vendor very hesitantly, most of the grains he was holding fell. Nonetheless, the fruit vendor filled Krishna's hands with fruits, and her fruit basket was immediately filled with jewels and gold. Report by Srila Prabhupada. In Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 26th verse, Krishna says, Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhakta prayachati taraham bhaktya uparitam asmani prayatatmanaha. Krishna is so kind that if anyone offers him a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or some water, he will immediately accept it. The only condition is that these things should be offered with bhakti. Yome bhaktya parayachati. Otherwise, if one is puffed up with false prestige, thinking, I have so much opulence, and I am giving something to Krishna, one's offering will not be accepted by Krishna. The fruit vendor, although a woman belonging to the poor Aborigine class, dealt with Krishna with great affection, saying, Krishna, you have come to me to take some fruit in exchange for grains. All the grains have fallen, but still you may take whatever you like. Thus she filled Krishna's palms with whatever fruits he could carry. In exchange, Krishna filled her whole basket with jewels and gold. From this incident, one should learn that for anything offered to Krishna with love and affection, Krishna can reciprocate many millions of times over, both materially and spiritually. The basic principle involved is an exchange of love. Therefore, Krishna teaches in the Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 27th verse, Yat karoshi, yat yasnashi, yat juhoshi dadasya, yat tapasyasti kuntaya, tat kurusva madhapanam. Son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as all austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. With love and affection, one should try to give something to Krishna from one source of income. Then one's life will be successful. Krishna is full in all opulences. He does not need anything from anyone. But if one is prepared to give something to Krishna, that is for one's own benefit. The example given in this connection is that when one's real face is decorated, the reflection of one's face is automatically decorated. Similarly, if we try to serve Krishna with all our opulences, we, as parts and parcels of or reflections of Krishna, will become happy in exchange. Krishna is always happy, for he is Atmaram, fully satisfied with his own opulence. I like the all serve with all the opulences.
Yeah.
It's like first time I pay attention to that actually.
Yeah.
Because I remember Prabhupada would say, like, if you decorate the altar, you decorate your heart. If you clean the temple, you clean the heart. But yeah, like you can use your renunciation, knowledge, strength, beauty, wealth,
Intelligence.
intelligence.
Yeah, it really gets to the essence of spiritual life, Krishna consciousness. It gets the essence of trust. Like there's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that said that this is how advancement is defined. That we have faith, we have trust. That I give everything in service to Krishna, and nothing will be lacking. I'll be okay. I'll be more than okay. I'll get unlimited reciprocation in abundant ways I can't conceive. And how much are we giving and how much are we holding back? The holding back is like, well, if I give this to Krishna, if I give this in service to Prabhupada's mission for Krishna, well, then I'm not sure who will take care of me in my old age. How will I be perceived in society? What will my image be? So that like everything external, subtle, all the time, all the qualities, that's pure devotion, just trusting, full surrender to Krishna and trusting that will fulfill everything. That's auspiciousness, win-win all around.
Hare Krishna.
Hey,
I have a question on this topic. I'm wondering, we have the instructions about giving a leaf or flower, water. We have specific prayers for prasadam. I know that you can offer fragrances. And I heard you say we can use any, in this verse, even you can use anything in Krishna service. You can use anything in Krishna service. But is there a specific way of offering things in Krishna service if they are like an inanimate objects? You know, like I have this car seat. It's really nice, expensive car seat that I want to offer to Krishna. It's made of it's actually made of animal fibers because they're flame retardant. And I feel especially sensitive about the fact that it's made of animal fiber, some of it. And so I want it used in Krishna service. I want to know that, you know, these animals gave parts of themselves in order for it to transport devotees to, you know, safely to different places in order to, you know, serve him. But is there like do we do the regular like prasadam prayers? Are there other prayers? Is there like another process that goes along with this, or is it simply just you use it in Krishna service, knowing in your heart that it is, you know, the love? Is it the love that makes it happen? That's my question.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, something like a car seat, whatever it's made of. Basically, it's dedicating myself that this car seat, this car is going to be used for devotional purposes, to drive to kirtan events, or even to drive to the supermarket to get food that is offered to Krishna. And then in that way, all of the craftsmen and engineers or animals who contributed to the car seat or the car, then they get eternal benefit. So yeah, like now actually, okay, well, like let's say in some traditional Vedic Hindu, and but this isn't something Prabhupada did. They like when people get a new car for different objects, they would have a special puja and with special mantras. It's not something Prabhupada instituted. I'm not saying it's wrong. And then, okay, then on the sentimental side, but like, okay, I've heard things like in the early days of Prabhupada movement, like San Francisco, the 60s, that like the hippies who didn't understand much about the rules and regulations, but they would get a new pair of blue jeans and they would bring it to the altar in front of Jagannath. And because they offer everything to Jagannath. And so like I'm not saying like it's bona fide or, you know, Prabhupada didn't say, yeah, offer your blue jeans on the altar. But, you know, there was a very childlike heart there. And we can imagine that those hippies made advancement because they had good intentions.
I feel like I might have asked something similar to this before. I appreciate your patience and tolerance with me as I continue to explore this topic. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Danielle. Thank you for your questions and enthusiasm to engage everything in Krishna's service. Let's see. We're on text 12. Okay, so we had a few more verses. Sari Tira Gatam Krishnam Vagnarjuna Mata Havaya Kamam Charohini Devi Kridantam Balakir Brisham. Malini, would you like to read?
Once, after the uprooting of the Yamana Arjuna tree, Rohini Devi went to call Rama and Krishna, who had both gone to the riverside and were playing with the other boys with deep attention. Purport, Mother Yashoda was more attached to Krishna and Balaram than Rohini Devi was, although Rohini Devi was the mother of Balaram. Mother Yashoda sent Rohini Devi to call Ram and Krishna from their play, since it was the right time for lunch. Therefore, Rohini Devi went to call them, breaking their engagement in play. Interesting.
Mhm.
Although Yashoda was more attached to Krishna and Balaram than Rohini was. Also Rohini Devi was Balaram. Interesting comment from Srila Prabhupada.
Uh, yeah, well, showing that in the realm of pure devotion, that there is a continuum. There is a continuum.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Rohini is Vasudev's wife. And Vasudeva and Devaki, they are not in the same mood than Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Like their level of intimacy is a lot deeper, Nanda and Yashoda. Like Ganesha was expressing when Mother Devaki saw the love of Yashoda for Krishna and Balaram at Kurukshetra. So I wonder if Rohini will be in the same categories than Vasudeva and Devaki.
Maybe somewhere in between.
Or somewhere in between, exactly. Yeah, that makes sense.
Because Rohini is getting close association with the childhood pastimes of Krishna and Balaram.
Yes, she does.
And Devaki and Vasudeva did not get that close association.
Yeah. It's interesting why Prabhupada will put that in a purport. That's what kind of, yeah.
Well, Prabhupada has some realization, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Prabhupada is or maybe something's coming up for him, like his ecstasy, like he says, purport as his ecstasy. And, you know, it was towards the end of his life that he was writing those purports. It's just interesting, like he's really so absorbed in the mood of those devotees. Yeah.
No payatam yadahutam krida sangena puchakao yashodam preshayamasa rohini putra vatsalam. Because of being too attached to playing with the other boys, Krishna and Balaram did not return upon being called by Rohini. Therefore, Rohini sent Mother Yashoda to call them back, because Mother Yashoda was more affectionate to Krishna and Balaram. Purport: Yashodam Prayasham Asa. These very words show that since Krishna and Balaram did not care to return in response to the order of Rohini, Rohini thought that if Yashoda called, they would have to return, for Yashoda was more affectionate to Krishna and Balaram. Vidantam sa sutam baler ativelam sahagrajam yashodajo havi Krishnam putra sneha snuta stani.
Krishna and Balaram, being attached to their play, were playing with the other boys, although it was very late. Therefore, Mother Yashoda called them back for lunch. Because of her ecstatic love and affection for Krishna and Balaram, milk flowed from her breast. Report by Srila Prabhupada. The word ajvit means calling them again and again. Krishna and Balaram, she called. Please come back. You are late for your lunch. You have played sufficiently. Come back. So it's interesting for me when Prabhupada he extends the shlokas.
Yes.
And he gives like quotations basically from the spiritual world.
Right.
Like I remember I noticed that from the very beginning in the Bhagavad Gita, like when Prabhupada in the purport he would like quote Krishna.
Yes.
It's really interesting.
He like role plays Krishna's internal. Right. So we can see like in a verse like this, Prabhupada is giving one meaning in the word for word, another in the translation,
Yeah.
and then another interrelated meaning in the purport. He's using each aspect to convey different nuances, different flavors.
I think for me, in a sense, it's even more like real because I mean, I think the Sanskrit many times it will be like proper disciples who will like arrange things, right? Especially in the later editions.
Yeah.
But then in the purport, Prabhupada actually is speaking.
Yes.
It's like feels like firsthand.
Personal ecstasies.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada's purports, yes. They're fully alive, fully person. Yeah, there's like sections in Nectar of Instruction, which will be even reading in evening programs. Prabhupada talking about parental rasa in like some sort of like technical way, the Vatsalya Ras.
Mm.
And then at the end of the paragraph, it just all glories to Mother Yashoda. You're just gonna feel Prabhupada's ecstasy
Yeah.
in them.
Yeah. I mean, in that book, you don't have any verses, so it's all like direct translation of Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Very special. Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's read one more verse. Text 15. Krishna Krishna Ravindoksha Tata Ehistanam Piba Alam Viharai Kshukshanta Krida Santa Siputraka.
Mother Yashoda said, "My dear son Krishna, lotus-eyed Krishna, come here and drink the milk of my breast. My dear darling, you must be very tired because of hunger and the fatigue of playing so long. There is no need to play anymore." It's funny, I think. You're tired from playing. There's no need now to play. You can stop.
Yeah, you don't have to play anymore.
Mhm.
Mother Yashoda ki,
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai.
Jai. Manta Kartik 2020. Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Bol.
Hi, Paul.
Thank you for coming,
Thank
everybody.
you, Hare Krishna.
Hi, Paul.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.